Indy Mogul.
In 2002, 20-year-old lifelong film fan Jason Allentoff decided he wanted to make a movie, and in doing so, he learned what it takes to be a writer, director, editor, and producer, coming out the other end with a completed film and a great deal of experiences, both very good and very bad. I sat down with Jason to talk about what he went through and what other up-and-coming filmmakers can learn from his experience in this 3-part series about the making of Never Among Friends. Yeah, We're started. I'm sinking into your couch, so I probably look kind of silly, but screw it.
It's a comfortable couch.
It is.
Don't mock the couch. Yeah, it's going to be actually within the next couple of weeks, 11 years since we started filming the movie.
God.
It was May till July of 2002 that we filmed.
Yeah.
I still have to be careful with what I say, and I don't want to offend anybody, and I don't want to be sued, and I have been extremely reluctant about talking about this experience with anybody other than you or a couple of people off the cuff with no cameras around.
Okay.
I'm going to be careful, but also, for the viewers out there, this is also a roadmap for them to not only not make the same mistakes that I made and that some other people made, but also to help them along with their own projects. My friend Roger and I, who co-wrote the movie with me, we were out for pizza one night and went back to his house and we were just talking. And we started in January with the script. We wrote pretty much every weekend up until May. And it was probably at the end of February that I started talking to some people who I had worked with before on an independent film that actually starred John Stamos. And the film was shot in Freehold, and we all worked on the crew of this film. One of the people on the crew was an executive producer on the movie, or an associate producer, excuse me, as in an investor. We were talking, and he really wanted to get into film himself, and he was excited about a project. And when we approached him, he wanted to collaborate. So we pretty much made a deal that he'd be the producer of the film, I would be the supervising producer, pretty much overseeing the production, and the director and co-writer, and someone else from that film crew was also interested in being the director of photography. So we brought him in.
One thing I know about your movie that I remember when you first told me about it, I thought was strange, was that you decided to shoot the film on what's called Betacam, Sony Betacam.
Yes.
Which was a format that they shoot generally the news with, right? Like it's...
Well, a lot of TV shows back in the 80s and even early 90s, especially the news, would use Betacam SP for field work, for in-studio camera setup.
Yeah.
We had an option of going with digital, but it was mini DV.
Right.
But I was not really impressed with the quality because the cameras were not what they are now. The Sony Betacam SP, the camera looked really impressive. I mean, if you were going to go and you were going to watch the filming, let's say, if you saw it with the Canon XL1, you wouldn't have been as impressed as with this huge Sony camera.
I guess, but I think a big...
I'm getting to where I'm going. This was a big mistake.
Yeah.
I bumped the mic. This was a big mistake. This was
Yeah.
probably, technically, one of the worst decisions we all made. Because the videotapes only hold 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So...
And they're it's very hard to find a player for them these days.
Not only is it hard to find a player now, it was hard to find a player then.
Yeah.
And they're expensive, and they only have 30 minutes of life on them.
All right.
So we were changing tapes probably 3 or 4 times a day.
Yeah.
Okay, during the shoot.
You have told me why you went with Betacam, and it didn't entirely have to do with the look of the picture.
Well, one of the reasons was it looked more professional.
And it's so funny because now we're shooting this with 2 T3Is. Now everyone's like, whatever, you get any kind of camera, even though it looks like a photo camera. But you really wanted a professional looking setup.
We wanted a professional looking setup. We also felt, more so me, because I had, if he's watching, he'll know, I did have an argument with the producer about this issue. They kept saying, we might as well just find, a Canon XL1, and I was so adamant about shooting on Sony Betacam SP. And it's the one decision that I regret. even to this day. And it was all for the professionalism to make us all look better when visitors drop by the set. And granted, when we were shooting, we fooled a lot of people, because a lot of people, especially with the extras, wanting to be in this film.
How did you get a cast together? What was your casting process like?
The casting process actually started out with us having auditions. And I said, you know what, why don't we get a room downtown in Freehold somewhere, or somewhere in Freehold, and put an ad in the paper and get people there. And we did. And all these people started showing up. And it was amazing. We felt great that day, because everybody was willing to work for free, and they wanted this on their resume, and we were very excited about that. So with the cast now in place, we started the early publicity. Now keep in mind, no Facebook.
Right.
No nothing. The exception of newspapers.
Right.
We had a reporter that came to the set many times, even throughout the shoot, because they were actually interested in coming back.
How much money did you make this movie for? How much money were you able to get together before shooting, and how did you get it?
Well, we had our producer. The main producer was one of the principal financiers. He also went out and got a pizza place, a restaurant, to donate not only food, but money. And we got money from this pizza place, and we got money from other people here and there. And when you put it all together, and all the out-of-pocket that I put, and my credit cards and everything else, we always said $7,000. It was probably about 10 or 11.
How long were you still paying the credit on that? It was made in 2002.
It was made in 2002, and I'm not going to answer the rest of that question.
Is it not paid off yet?
I am not going to answer the rest of that question.
But that's filmmaking. I mean, even as I'm
going
going
to answer the rest of that question.
Okay, I will say though, even as going into my movie, I know that any money I put aside, I may still be paying for.
Yes.
Quite a ways down. Of course, there was no Kickstarter or anything like that. You couldn't get anything together.
No.
You're now going into shooting. Where's everybody's head at? How are people talking about the movie? Are people excited? Any drama come up at this point?
We are in the middle of getting ready to go shoot, and everything is all set in place, and everybody is happy, and the cast has given us positive feedback on the script, and everything is going well, and our crew is almost fully in place. And then I get a phone call from one of my actors that pretty much says he's not sure if he can do the movie because someone out in California read the script.
Oh, right. Yes.
Now, all I'm going to say is this someone is also a mutual friend of Jonathan Tuckerman. And he almost f***ed me because my actor almost backed out of the film because of his advice.
Okay, and he's still he's in Hollywood right now. He's actually
still working in Hollywood.
He's actually quite successful.
He's quite successful. He sold a lot of scripts.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, my actor did my film, and he's out in California, and he's successful now. So it didn't ruin his career.
He almost pulled out of it because of that guy.
He almost pulled out of it. I'm glad he didn't.
What did he say exactly? What did he say?
He said the script was
Uh-huh.
He said that it's amateurish, and he thinks that if he does the film, he won't work in Hollywood. He's better than what this was.
People get very sensitive about their own stuff, and here you are, you're a 20-year-old, you're like, what, 20, 21 years old?
I was 20 years old.
You're this young kid who just wants to get into filmmaking for the fun of it, for the love of it. You were never this pretentious artsy film guy who was a trying to get into Hollywood.
I was just trying to start
something. You were like, I want to make movies, so I'm going to make a movie.
Yeah,
it wasn't
we were
like
trying to see what would happen with
You weren't trying to change movie making. You were just trying to be like, I want to make a movie because this is what I'd like to do.
That's exactly right.
And some Hollywood says that.
Hollywood said that. Who's going to go nameless? He knows who he is.
I actually like some of his works. I mean, I can't.
So do I.
Yeah, you can't.
So do I. Like I said, I have nothing bad to say about the guy's work. It is what it is. But the other issue that came up was my other actor, my other lead, who was fantastic in the movie, who's now really working out in California a lot. He was in a union. He was in AFTRA. This was before SAG and AFTRA became one. And we had to get a release signed by AFTRA, which is the television union at the time, to let him be in my film. They actually signed it, they let him go, and that was fine.
Good. All right, so now we're going to go into the production phase of the movie. We're going to cut the episode off here. This is the first one. Next week is production.
Was this a good episode, or it felt a little boring?
Well, because not as much happened like in pre-production, but then once production began.
You got to use the B-roll.
Coming up on part 2.
The actor, being Mr. Method that he is, said, hit me hard. I was told pretty much by my cast that if she stayed in the movie, they're all walking. There were a lot of decisions that were made on set that I didn't want, but I went along with them. But then I was told that if I showed up with a cast and crew and a camera, they would arrest me. Back in retrospect, it was kind of funny,
It makes for a good story.
but I wasn't amused then.